Dawn broke over Mycenae, painting its marble walls in gold. Heracles walked into the throne hall, calm and resolute. The echo of his footsteps filled the vast chamber. On the high days, King Eurystheus sat with cold amusement. "So, the lion killer returns," he said with a smirk. "Your strength may be great, Heracles, but let's test your pride." Heracles bowed slightly. "Name your command." The king leaned forward, eyes glittering like a serpent's. "You will clean the stables of King Augeas of Ilus." A faint murmur rippled through the court. Heracles frowned. "Clean his stables?" Eurystheus grinned wider. 30 years unclean, thousands of cattle. Even the gods turn away from that stench. Laughter burst around the hall, cruel and mocking. But Heracles remained silent, unshaken. He met the king's eyes, his voice deep and calm. "I accept, in a single day," added Eurystheus sharply. The laughter stopped. Heracles simply nodded. "By sunset, it shall be done." The courtiers exchanged uneasy glances. Eurystheus' smile faded, replaced by disbelief. As Heracles turned to leave, sunlight caught the bronze on his shoulders. The hall grew silent, the air heavy with awe. Whispers followed him like ghosts. "He's mad. No man could do that." Outside, the wind lifted his lion's mane cloak. Heracles looked toward the west. "The filth of kings," he murmured, "is harder to clean than any stable." With that, he began his long journey. Behind him, Eurystheus clenched his fists. "So be it," the king hissed. "Let the hero drown in filth." But the gods watched silently, their designs unfolding in shadow. The road stretched long beneath the sun's burning eye. Heracles walked alone, his club slung across his shoulder. Fields of wheat rippled like waves of gold. Cicadas sang the hymn of toil and heat. Each step echoed with memory and purpose. "This labor will not test muscle," he thought, "but mind." He crossed valleys carved by ancient wines. Villagers paused from their work to watch him pass. "Is that him, the son of Zeus?" "Yes, the hero who faced the Hydra itself." Heracles smiled faintly, saying nothing. Children ran beside him, laughing, before fading back to the fields. The path wound along the banks of the river Alpheus. Its waters shimmered like polished steel beneath the light. To the north, Mount Erymanthus loomed, silent and watchful. The gods love irony. Heracles murmured ... to cleanse what kings refused to touch. At dusk, he made camp beneath olive trees. The flames danced on his armor, painting his face with gold and shadow. He thought of Eurystheus' smirk and laughed softly. Let him wait. The filth of Augeas will be gone before he sleeps. By morning, the hero rose again. He bathed in the cool river and whispered a prayer to Athena ... Guide my mind, not my arm. The city of Ilus awaited beyond the mist, and so, he walked toward his destiny, one steady step at a time. The earth trembled, as if it too knew the weight of his vow. White under the midday sun. Heracles strode through its gates, his shadow long on the marble floor. Courtiers whispered behind jeweled columns. King Augeas sat upon a throne of carved ivory, his robes rich and clean. He was an old man, but his eyes still burned with cunning. "So," he said slowly, "the famous Heracles stands before me." Heracles bowed slightly. "I come at your service, my lord." Augeas leaned forward. "Service? I've been sent to cleanse your stables." The hall erupted in laughter. Even the guards struggled to keep their composure. Heracles waited, silent as stone. When the laughter died, he spoke again. "I will do it in one day." The old king arched an eyebrow. "One day? Do you mock me?" "No," said Heracles. "I offer you a bargain." The old king arched an eyebrow. "One day? Do you mock me?" "No," said Heracles. "I offer you a bargain. Then my name shall be forgotten." The old king studied him, tapping his chin. At last, he smiled. "Very well, hero. Let the world witness your folly." Heracles met his gaze without fear. "Prepare your cattle, then. By sunset, the stench will be gone." Augeas turned to his son, a kind-faced youth. "Watch closely, boy," the king said. "Pride will bury him." But the prince looked at the departing hero and thought, or perhaps we will see a miracle. The hero followed the stench long before he saw the walls. Flies buzzed thick as storm clouds, blotting the sun. The air burned with rot and decay. At last, Heracles stood before the Augean Stables. The structure stretched endlessly, built of stone and despair. Mountains of dung rose like towers. Rivers of filth crawled through cracked earth. He pressed a hand to his face, breathing through his fingers. "By Zeus, this is no labor, it is punishment." He stepped inside. boots sinking into sludge. The lowing of cattle was deep and sorrowful. Each step echoed like thunder through the filth. He saw the waste of 30 years, piled to the heavens. Even heroes flinch before such things. But Heracles did not turn away. "If this is my fate," he said, "then I'll carve a path through it." He struck his club to the ground, the sound shook the air. The cattle bellowed as if sensing change. Heracles lifted his gaze toward the open fields beyond. "The gods will not clean this," he said. "Only a man who refuses to yield." Then his eyes found it, the rivers nearby, swift and shining. The Alpheus and the Peneus flowed not far from here. Water, the strength of nature itself. "I will not fight the dirt," he said softly. "I will make the world fight it for me." At dawn, Heracles stood by the river Alpheus. Mist curled over the surface, glowing in the golden light. He knelt, tracing the current with his fingers. "The river never stops," he whispered. "Even the mountains bow to its will." He followed its path until he saw the second stream, the Peneus. Two forces, separated, yet together, unstoppable. A thought sparked like fire in his mind. "If I unite them, they will cleanse what no hand can touch." He rose, eyes burning with purpose. The villagers nearby watched in awe. "What is he doing?" they murmured. "Perhaps summoning the gods." But no prayer left his lips. He took his club and began to dig. The earth trembled under each blow. Stones cracked, roots tore free. Sweat streamed down his bronze skin. Hours passed. The sun climbed high, relentless. When the first trickle of water slid through, he grinned. "Come then, Alpheus, come, Peneus, the hero calls you." The rivers roared in answer. With one final strike, the walls gave way. Water exploded through the earth like a beast unleashed. The rivers crashed into the stables, devouring filth, shattering rot. Water turned black and brown, then turned clear again. From chaos came cleansing. Heracles laughed, his voice echoing with triumph. "Not strength," he said, "but wisdom." When the sun touched the horizon, silence fell. The air was clean, the earth glistened with water. Heracles stood at the edge of the stables, breathing deeply. What once stank of death now smelled of rain. He gazed upon polished stone floors, gleaming under gold light. Not a speck of filth remained. The cattle lowed softly, their coats shining. Villagers gathered, unable to speak. One old man fell to his knees. By the gods, he did it. Children shouted his name in awe. Heracles wiped the sweat from his brow, smiling faintly. "It is done," he said. Behind him, the rivers still whispered, proud and gentle. Then came the sound of hooves. King Augean rode forth with his guards. He stopped, eyes wide at the sight. His face turned pale as marble. "Impossible," he muttered. Heracles turned, calm as stone. "Your stables are clean, my lord, as promised." Augean dismounted, staring at the shining floors. "In a single day, yes," said the hero. "Now, about our bargain." The crowd murmured, their loyalty shifting like the wind. Augean forced a smile. Of course. Come to my palace at dawn." But Heracles saw the lie hiding behind his words. Morning came soft and cold. Heracles entered the palace, his steps echoing. Guards lined the walls, tense and silent. King Augean sat waiting, his crown gleaming under torchlight. "Ah, Heracles," he said smoothly, "the savior of filth." Heracles stood tall. "I have come for what was promised." The king's smile did not reach his eyes. "I owe you nothing." The words struck like a dagger. Heracles' brow darkened. "You swore before witnesses." "I swore to a fool," Augean snapped. "You did this for your master, Eurystheus, not for me." The guards shifted, gripping their spears. Heracles took a step forward, voice low as thunder. "Your word means nothing, then." Augean slammed his fist on the throne. "Guards, remove this man from my sight." Steel scraped against stone, but none dared move closer. "I came to cleanse your stables," he said, "but it seems your heart is filthier still." He looked back once. "You've broken your word, Augean. And the gods see everything." Then he was gone. Outside, thunder rolled. Years passed, but betrayal never dies. Heracles returned to Ilus with banners high and allies at his side. The sky burned red as his army marched. People poured from their homes to greet him. They remembered the man who cleansed their land. And they remembered the king who lied. Augean trembled in his halls, the echoes of guilt chasing him. He called for guards, for counsel, for the gods. None answered. The city rose like a storm. Heracles entered the square unarmed, only justice in his eyes. "Bring forth the king," he said. The crowd obeyed. Augean was dragged before the people he once ruled. His robes were torn, his crown askew. Heracles stood before him, silent. "Do you deny your oath?" he asked. "Do you deny the labor done in your name?" Augean's voice broke. "No. Then justice must be done." The crowd roared in approval. "Let Elis choose its ruler." And they did. The young prince, son of Augean, stepped forward, trembling. Heracles placed a hand on his shoulder. "You will lead with truth, not deceit." The people bowed. For the first time in years, Elis was clean again, body and soul. When the dust settled, Heracles walked alone along the riverbank. The waters of Alpheus glowed with evening gold. He watched their steady flow, endless and pure. "Even rivers cleanse themselves," he murmured. Behind him, the city celebrated, but he felt only calm. "This labor was not of strength," he said, "but of reason." He knelt and touched the water. It was cool, alive, forgiving. He remembered Athena's whisper, "Wisdom is the mightiest weapon." The sun sank low, painting the world in flame. Birds wheeled above him, crying farewell. He looked toward the horizon. Another trial awaited, darker than the last. But for now, the hero could rest. Eurystheus would rage when he heard of this triumph. The people of Elis would remember the day their world was washed clean. Children would tell stories beside hearth fires. "Strength can break mountains," he said softly, "but only wisdom can move rivers." He turned away, his shadow stretching long. The rivers sang behind him, eternal and bright. Thus ended the fifth labor of Heracles, the cleansing of the Augean Stables.